Those were the words Ryuichi Kihara chose to say immediately after making history by winning Japan's first-ever Olympic gold medal in pair figure skating. It was a moment the entire world was watching. Cameras surrounded him, reporters rushed forward, and millions of fans celebrated one of the greatest achievements in Japanese figure skating history. Yet instead of talking about his own success or even mentioning his current partner first, Kihara surprised everyone by expressing gratitude to someone from his past. He thanked his former partner, Narumi Takahashi. Today, Narumi Takahashi is known as a respected commentator, but years ago she was the skater who introduced Kihara to the world of pair skating. She stood beside him when he took his very first steps in a discipline that would eventually change his life forever. Why would an Olympic champion think of a former partner at the greatest moment of his career? To understand that answer, we have to return to where his remarkable journey truly began. There is one fact about Ryuichi Kihara's story that many people still find hard to believe. Only 7 years before standing on top of the Olympic podium, the man who would become Japan's first Olympic pair skating champion was working behind the rental skate counter at a local ice rink while quietly wondering if his competitive career had already come to an end. The contrast could not have been greater. One day he was helping visitors rent skates, living an ordinary life far away from the spotlight. A few years later, he was standing on the highest podium in the sport, wearing an Olympic gold medal around his neck. How did someone who was prepared to retire rise all the way to the top of the world? The answer goes far beyond talent. It is a story of resilience, perseverance, and the courage to keep believing when almost every reason to give up stood in front of him. Today, in the final chapter of this series on Ryuichi Kihara, we'll follow the complete journey of a man whose path proves that the greatest victories are often built during the darkest moments. So let's begin where it all started. Ryuichi Kihara first stepped onto the ice when he was just 4 years old. Like countless children, he simply wanted to skate. At the time, he had no idea that the ice beneath his feet would one day become the stage where he would make history. He started as a singles skater, spending years practicing alone while slowly developing his skills and discovering his place in the sport. But as he grew older, something changed. Kihara became much taller than many of the other Japanese men's skaters. In everyday life, his height was an advantage. In singles figure skating, however, it created new challenges. A taller body makes it more difficult to maintain a stable rotation in the air. Landings become harder on the joints, and consistency becomes increasingly difficult to achieve. The very body that gave him strength also became one of his greatest obstacles. As he began questioning his future in singles skating, an unexpected opportunity appeared. He was offered the chance to switch to pair skating. It wasn't simply changing events, it was changing his entire life. Everything he had learned as a singles skater would have to be rebuilt from the ground up. New techniques, new responsibilities, and most importantly, learning to trust another person completely on the ice. It required enormous courage. In 2013, Kihara officially formed a partnership with Narumi Takahashi. Together, they worked tirelessly to build chemistry, synchronize every movement, and master the demanding techniques unique to pair skating. Their progress was astonishing. Just over a year later, they represented Japan at the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics, competing in both the team event and the pairs competition. For athletes who had only recently teamed up, reaching the Olympic Games so quickly was an extraordinary achievement. After that partnership ended, Kihara continued his career with another partner, Miu Suzaki. Once again, he adapted, learned, and continued growing as an athlete. But success never came easily. The world of elite sports is unforgiving. Results don't always reflect effort, and there were many competitions where disappointment outweighed celebration. Still, Kihara refused to walk away. Looking back now, his decision to leave singles skating may have been the first glimpse of the champion he would eventually become. Most athletes see unexpected physical changes as setbacks. Kihara saw them as an invitation to find a different path. That decision revealed something important about his character. Whenever he faced what looked like the end of one journey, he chose to see it as the beginning of another. That mindset would soon be tested more severely than ever before, because after years of steady progress, the darkest chapter of his life was waiting just ahead. Kihara's words were not part of a prepared speech. They weren't something someone had suggested he say. They came straight from the deepest part of his heart. It was a sincere expression of gratitude that surfaced naturally in the greatest moment of his career. When Narumi Takahashi heard those words while working as a television commentator, she was reportedly overcome with emotion. Years earlier, they had chased the same dream together on the ice. Although their paths eventually separated, they both remained devoted to the world of figure skating in different ways. More than a decade later, their shared journey came full circle as Kihara stood on the Olympic podium with a gold medal around his neck. It was one of the purest examples of sportsmanship imaginable. Few athletes, after reaching the highest point of their careers, immediately choose to thank someone else before talking about themselves. In a moment filled with celebration, most people naturally focus on their own achievement. Kihara chose differently. That simple act of gratitude may have carried even greater meaning than the victory itself. Of course, no champion reaches the top alone. Throughout his career, countless people stood beside him and believed in him when success seemed impossible. There was coach Bruno Marcotte, who reopened the path forward when Kihara had nearly accepted retirement. There were coaches who patiently waited through injuries and difficult seasons without losing faith in him. Medical staff worked tirelessly to help him recover physically. The employees at the skating rink welcomed him during the years he worked there, treating him with trust and respect. Sponsors continued to support his career, while fans encouraged him through every setback and comeback. Each individual contribution may have seemed small, but together, they formed the foundation that eventually led to Olympic gold. Kihara himself has repeatedly spoken about how much he owes to the people around him. His success was never the achievement of one person alone. It was built upon years of encouragement, patience, and unwavering belief from those who never gave up on him. Perhaps that is what truly defines a great coach. Technical knowledge is important, but teaching skills alone is not enough. The greatest coaches are the ones who continue believing in an athlete even when results disappear. Anyone can celebrate success. Very few people are willing to stand beside someone through the long winter before the flowers bloom. A quiet faith may be the greatest gift a mentor can offer. Kihara and Riku Miura's Olympic victory also attracted worldwide attention. It wasn't simply because Japan had won its first ever Olympic gold medal in pair skating. It was also because of what happened after the competition. The International Olympic Committee highlighted the unforgettable moment when Kihara gently lifted Miura onto the podium, describing it as one of the memorable scenes of the Games. That simple gesture crossed every language and every cultural boundary. People around the world connected with it instantly. It wasn't about athletic ability. It wasn't about scores. It was about kindness. Out of countless unforgettable Olympic moments, a small act of care became one of the images remembered by the world. That alone says something remarkable about Kihara's character. But behind that unforgettable Olympic celebration was another story that very few people ever saw. The final months leading up to the Milano Cortina Olympics were anything but smooth. In December 2025, during practice for the Japanese national championships, Riku Miura suffered a serious left shoulder dislocation. The injury came at the worst possible time. The Olympics were only weeks away. Years of preparation suddenly seemed at risk. For many athletes, such a setback could have shattered every dream, but the pair refused to stop moving forward. Instead of worrying about himself, Kihara focused entirely on easing his partner's fears. Although Miura was the one who had been injured, Kihara carried the emotional burden with her. That is what true partnership means. They shared not only victories but pain as well. Perhaps no one understood her fear better than Kihara himself. He had already experienced devastating injuries, severe shoulder pain, a concussion, the loss of previous partnerships, and even the possibility of retirement. Because he had lived through those darkest moments, he understood exactly what Miura was feeling. He knew what it meant to question your future. He knew what it felt like to wonder whether all your hard work might disappear overnight. And because of that experience, he also knew how to offer hope. During her rehabilitation, Kihara repeatedly reassured her with calm confidence. "We'll make it. We still have time." Those weren't empty words. They came from someone who had climbed out of rock bottom himself. Only those who have truly experienced despair can speak with that kind of quiet certainty. His calmness became the foundation that helped Miura regain confidence. Moments like these reveal the true strength of a partnership. It's easy to support each other when everything is going well. The real test comes when uncertainty takes over. When the future is unclear, when fear replaces confidence, that is when trust becomes visible. Looking back, Kihara's own struggles were never meaningless. The hardships that nearly ended his career eventually became the very experiences that allowed him to support someone else. Without those painful years, perhaps he could never have understood his partner so deeply. Sometimes life's greatest setbacks become the source of our greatest strength. Then came the Olympic competition itself. After the short program at the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, Miura and Kihara found themselves in 5th place. The gap separating them from the gold medal appeared enormous. Many viewers believed the dream was already over, but the two skaters never stopped believing. They ignored the standings and focused on one goal: deliver the performance of their lives. When the free skate began, everything came together. Every lift, every throw, every twist, every landing. Years of trust, sacrifice, and determination unfolded over 4 unforgettable minutes. They earned an astonishing 158.13 points in the free skate, a world record score at the time. Their total score of 231.2 completed one of the greatest comeback victories in Olympic figure skating history. From 5th place to Olympic champions, Japan had finally captured its first ever Olympic gold medal in pair skating. At 33 years and 5 months old, Ryuichi Kihara also became the oldest Japanese athlete ever to win a Winter Olympic gold medal. This was far more than a personal victory. For decades, pair skating had been dominated by powerhouse nations such as Russia, China, and several European countries. Now, Japan had broken through that barrier. The man who once worked behind the rental skate counter had reached a place no Japanese pair skater had ever reached before. His journey from uncertainty and near retirement to Olympic champion remains one of the most inspiring comeback stories in modern sports. It reminds us why people fall in love with sports in the first place. Until the very last performance, nothing is ever truly decided. And sometimes, the most impossible dreams become reality. Many people watching the Olympics probably gave up hope after seeing the pair sitting in 5th place. That's why their incredible free skate score of 158.13 wasn't just another number on a scoreboard. It became proof that extraordinary things are possible for those who refuse to stop believing. There was another remarkable detail as well. At 33 years old, Ryuichi Kihara became one of Japan's oldest Winter Olympic gold medalists. In a sport where athletes often peak much younger, he proved that age is not a limitation. His victory became a powerful reminder that dreams don't have an expiration date. Across Japan, the historic gold medal sparked an overwhelming wave of emotion. Fellow Olympian Kaori Sakamoto was reportedly moved to tears while watching Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara capture the title. When athletes who compete against one another celebrate each other's success so sincerely, it reveals a bond that extends far beyond competition. They understand better than anyone what it takes to reach that level. Figure skater Yuma Kagiyama also celebrated the victory on social media, sharing a short but heartfelt message that reflected the excitement felt across the skating community. Meanwhile, former Olympic medalist and commentator Daisuke Takahashi described their free skate as the greatest performance on earth. Coming from someone who has devoted his life to figure skating, those words carried enormous weight. And then there was Narumi Takahashi. The former partner whom Kihara had thanked moments after winning Olympic gold reportedly became emotional while commentating on the event. When Kihara said, "Without Naru-chan, we wouldn't have won this medal," it wasn't simply a thank you. It was recognition of every challenge they had faced together more than a decade earlier. In that single moment, two separate journeys became one story again. The unforgettable scene of Kihara gently carrying Miura onto the podium also became one of the defining images of the Games. Fans weren't captivated only by the gold medal, they were touched by the kindness behind it. Sometimes, a simple gesture says more than any victory ever could. One of the most inspiring aspects of this story is how fellow athletes reacted. Celebrating another competitor's success isn't always easy. Every athlete dreams of standing on the top step themselves. That is why the tears of Kaori Sakamoto, the congratulations from Yuma Kagiyama, and the admiration expressed by Daisuke Takahashi felt so genuine. They weren't just honoring a victory, they were honoring the incredible journey behind it. Narumi Takahashi's emotional response may have been the most meaningful of all. Although she and Kihara had long since gone their separate ways, the invisible bond they built through years of hard work had never truly disappeared. When Olympic gold finally arrived, it felt as though their shared dream had reached its destination together. Life has a remarkable way of bringing stories full circle. Looking back at everything they accomplished, Ryuichi Kihara and Riku Miura's Olympic triumph teaches us several powerful lessons. First, no matter how dark life becomes, it is always possible to rise again. A man who once worked behind the rental skate counter while considering retirement eventually stood on top of the Olympic podium. Everything changed because he chose not to give up completely. Second, even when the situation appears hopeless, the outcome isn't decided until the very end. From 5th place after the short program to Olympic champions with a world record free skate, they reminded everyone that perseverance can rewrite history. Third, true strength comes from supporting one another. When Miura suffered her shoulder injury, Kihara didn't think about himself. He focused on helping his partner stay strong. Their victory was built not only on skill, but also on trust, compassion, and unwavering support. Finally, they showed the world that greatness and kindness can exist together. After becoming Olympic champions, Kihara's first instinct wasn't to celebrate himself. He cared for his partner. He thanked his former partner. Even in the greatest moment of his life, his heart remained focused on others. Perhaps that is what true greatness really looks like. Every time I reflect on this story, I realize that the gold medal itself wasn't the most valuable prize they earned. What truly mattered was everything that led to it. Years of sacrifice, countless setbacks, unbreakable trust, endless gratitude, and a determination to keep moving forward when quitting would have been easier. Those are the things that gave real meaning to the medal hanging around their necks. Stories like this remind us why sports continue to inspire millions around the world. No script could ever recreate something this authentic. Only real people, facing real struggles, can create stories this powerful. Most importantly, Ryuichi Kihara's journey isn't simply the story of extraordinary talent. It's the story of ordinary choices made during extraordinary hardships. Every person experiences moments when the future feels uncertain, moments when giving up seems like the easiest option. His life reminds us that sometimes everything depends on one small decision, to keep going one more day. Before we finish, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which moment touched you the most? Was it the unforgettable image of Kihara gently carrying Riku Miura onto the Olympic podium? Was it his heartfelt gratitude toward Narumi Takahashi? Or was it his incredible comeback from the brink of retirement to Olympic champion? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy inspiring stories from behind the world of sports, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next story. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.